Now, this first day of the convention got off to an early start, and we're lucky enough to have 13 ABC's Bill Hormann on the convention floor to tell us what it was like. Bill.
Diane, admittedly, some of that work is pretty boring, but it's work that these 2,500 delegates have to do. But we were wondering why the Ohio delegation had to do that work from such a poor seating position.
The committees have been approved.
All political conventions have a purpose. There's the purpose we think we know.
This is really where these campaigns begin, and the candidate's got to define himself, and these conventions largely are the first impression.
Mr. Chairman, this is an important resolution.
And then there's the other purpose, the how to run a party purpose.
They're adopting rules. We've got committees at work right now as you and I are talking, putting this convention together and setting up the rules.
Some delegates are old hands at this. Others, like Michelle, are here for the very first time. What did you expect?
Public schools, charter schools.
More balloons. More balloons. I was shocked that the whole ceiling wasn't covered.
You know what I was looking for?
What?
More silly hats.
Yeah, there's no silly hats. Everybody's dressed very nice.
But there is one big problem. What do you think of your seat this year?
Our seat's different this year.
Ohio's seats are not good. They're off to the side of the stage. Well, you got a nice shot of the gentleman's ear.
Well, you know, this probably has something to do with the fact that our governor is not on board yet. But I went over to the front row, and it's the New York delegation. That's usually where we are, the front section. And I said, "Can I have everybody's attention, please? You're in our seats."
Aren't you a little too close? It's like sitting at the first row of the theater.
This is actually not such a good seat because the news people come and take pictures, and I actually have to stand up and look at the teleprompter, not the teleprompter, but the video screen, rather than actually see the speaker himself.
The convention's now in recess. We'll reconvene at 7:50 this evening. Melania Trump will speak, and we're told that in order to speak before the delegates, she needs to be introduced. Guess who will introduce her? Donald Trump, the likely Republican nominee. There was a bit of a floor fight here about 2 hours ago. The Never Trump movement, the anti-Trump forces in the Republican Party, tried to force a vote on the rules package. If they had been able to succeed and vote that rules package down, delegates would have been unbound, free to vote their conscience, free to vote against Donald Trump. Their move did not succeed. Donald Trump now your likely Republican nominee. More on that angle of the story coming up tonight on 13 ABC Action News at 11.
Here's 13 ABC's Bill Hormann from the floor of Quicken Loans Arena.
Political conventions have been criticized for being so micromanaged and scripted right down to the second in a lot of cases that there's no drama in these conventions. Well, there was a lot of drama earlier this afternoon. Well, this was the high drama that our cameras caught. We happened to be inside the queue when the anti-Trump forces tried to force a vote on the floor. What essentially that would have meant was they could vote for whichever presidential candidate they wanted. The rules prevented them from doing that. So if you came here as a Trump delegate, but you really wanted to support Ted Cruz, you had to vote for Trump. They didn't like that. We talked to some of the members of the Ohio delegation. All of them are going to back Governor John Kasich, but they did not like what they saw on the floor today.
Well, I thought it was a significant part of this whole convention. This was not a time for that type of national discord among the delegates at this convention. In my opinion, that's just me.
What I saw was democracy in action. And in the end, though everybody didn't get maybe exactly their way, the comments I heard when the session closed was that it was done fair, above board, and people are going to live with it.
What do you think of that whole move, of the anti-Trump effort at this point?
Well, it keeps failing.
What does that tell you?
It tells me that we're going to have our nominee is going to be Donald Trump.
But in the end, what all this means is Donald Trump will be the party's nominee. The Dump Trump movement now goes nowhere. Tomorrow night, Tuesday night, is the roll call. Donald Trump will have the delegates. He will be the Republican Party's presidential nominee.
A person familiar with campaign deliberations say no one in the Trump campaign is expected to be fired over Melania's speech, but the comparisons to Mrs. Obama's speech has been certainly dominating a lot of the conversation in Cleveland today. 13 ABC's Bill Hormann wanted to hear what Ohio delegates thought of the controversy.
Lee, despite uniformly supporting Governor John Kasich, the Ohio delegation members that we talked to clearly backed Melania Trump in this speech dust-up.
Now he will go to work for you.
Ohio delegates were knocked out by that speech.
I thought she was absolutely wonderful last night, and she was very sincere.
But that excitement was quickly deflated when the video indicated that passages mimicked a Michelle Obama speech from 2008.
I think it's 58 words, almost verbatim from
Really?
a Michelle Obama speech, yeah.
Wow, that's hard. I can't believe that.
For the most part, delegates thought Mrs. Trump's speech touched on all the important issues. Some even blamed the media for blowing the controversy out of proportion.
People are going to talk about the same things. It was all about morals. It was about family values. Her speech is going to be like probably 1,000 other speeches that are out there.
So you just think this is a media-made firestorm?
Oh, just to take the focus off of Hillary, put the negative back on us, and try to defeat us again.
There are undeniable similarities.
Keep your promise.
Not unusual to presidential politics, but one delegate says there is a big difference between the Obama speech and Mrs. Trump's.
She's proud of this country, and she's proud to be an American. 8 years ago, I heard somebody else say that this was the first time she was proud to be an American.
Do you question whether Trump can run a convention, much less an administration?
It's new ground for him, and I think he's learning too, right along with us.
Does this look good on your nominee?
I think what's important is that we have to focus on November and understanding that this is about beating Hillary Clinton.
Well, Republicans believe the team that will beat Hillary Clinton is the Trump-Pence team. What you're looking at there is the roll call. The nominating speeches are about to conclude. The roll call of the 50 states and the 6 territories about to begin tonight, probably in a matter of 2 hours or so. Donald Trump and Mike Pence will officially be nominated as the Republican Party convention's aspirant for the White House.
And while the delegates on the floor were announcing their support, alternate delegates were watching from the gallery.
13 ABC's Bill Hormann is covering the convention in Cleveland for us tonight.
For a lot of political junkies, the roll call night is the most exciting night of the entire 4-day convention period for either Republicans or Democrats. It's just that tonight is the Republicans' turn to nominate their candidate.
Arizona delivers 58 bound votes to the nominee, Donald J. Trump, the next president of the United States of America.
It's what makes American politics unique and unifying.
It's great. And it's like watching history. It's like you can reach out and touch it. It's cool.
Political nominating conventions rely on the roll call, and this year's primary season reached a Republican resolution Tuesday. It might be the most fun part because listen to all the introductions these states give.
Yeah. We're #1 in rice production.
It's like a geography lesson and a history lesson all rolled in one.
Every time a state casts its ballot, everybody stands up and cheers.
Yeah.
There they go.
It's really fun. It really is. It's riveting just to hear everybody get up and yell and scream.
Do you wish you were on that floor right now?
Yeah, it'd be real fun to be down there.
It is my honor to be able to throw Donald Trump over at the top in the delegate count tonight with 89 delegates.
This is the 4th convention for Grace, and she says she's ready to support the Republican ticket.
Well, you always have a few stray dogs, but basically it will be united.
So it was no real surprise, but we tried to give you a sense of the excitement that some of the people feel here, not just for the nominee himself, but for the process itself. Tomorrow night, the theme is Making America First Again. Tonight, the Republican Party made Donald Trump first.
Thousands of protesters, though, are in town to make sure their voices are heard.
13 ABC's Bill Hormann live in Cleveland covering that angle of the convention tonight. Bill.
All week there have been concerns about protests and violence. There have been a couple of skirmishes, but for the most part the protests have been peaceful. We went down to the public square today to see what protests we could find. We found a bit of a circus with a purpose. Here's some sights and sounds of what we found.
Step right up, just 5
American democratic process.
No pins, no walls. We build bridges.
Are you afraid that perhaps the presentation might look a little silly to some people despite the seriousness of your argument?
No. We do it on purpose because we think it breaks down walls. If people smile at us, then maybe we can have a conversation.
The walls that they build to tear us apart will never be as strong as the walls of our hearts.
Donald Trump before the election and Donald Trump after the election.
This is a more whimsical way of making a point.
That's what I wanted to bring to the convention was laughter. In fact, I've even sold a few of these to Trump supporters.
A lot of them are getting paid to come out here and protest. And also, there are a lot of people who love the freebies.
That from earlier today. Now, tonight, the vice presidential candidate accepts his party's nomination. But who is Mike Pence? Coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, we'll talk with the people who know him best.
And while the convention is meant to unify the party, it's doing anything but that, according to some. Half a dozen, that is, delegations are now struggling to support their nominee.
Including lawmakers in Utah. 13 ABC's Bill Hormann once again in Cleveland, reporting from Quicken Loans Arena.
Utah votes overwhelmingly Republican. Generally, the GOP gets 77% of the vote in presidential elections, but this year Donald Trump may have trouble doing that well. Donald Trump has a very tough sell in Utah. His tone has repelled what is traditionally the strongest state for Republicans.
You know, we really want to unite behind the Republican nominee, but he just hasn't done those things to help us unite with him.
Monday's floor fight did not help. Delegates from 6 states, including Utah, wanted to vote their conscience, win or lose. But their efforts were squashed, and they felt steamrolled.
I'm not an ever-Trump guy, but there's a lot of people that are leaving the party over this. And it's going to be a problem, and we don't want Hillary.
And that's the problem for Utah. These delegates want Republican victories, but they do not like the party's nominee.
Vote Republican. I will be voting Republican. But unless something drastic changes and I have a miraculous vision, I'll probably just write somebody's name in November.
I found this interesting. A delegate told me that Mormons in Utah are concerned about religious persecution. Mormons suffered persecution throughout American history, and they hear Donald Trump talk about a Muslim ban, and they are concerned. However, tonight, if Donald Trump can talk about what he means by banning Muslims, that could go a long way toward winning some delegate support.
Tonight, the Republican candidate officially accepted the party's nomination.
I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
13 ABC's Bill Hormann live from Cleveland with the chairman of the Lucas County Republican Party, Bill.
It was a long speech, went about 85 minutes. The question is, was it a good speech? We're joined by Lucas County Republican Party Chairman John Steinborg, who really has to sell this candidate to Northwest Ohio. What did you hear in the tone of this speech, John?
It was a great speech, very positive tone, exactly what the people wanted to hear in Cleveland at this convention. The delegates have been waiting 4 days here since the convention started to actually hear Donald Trump come out and say his whole speech. Very positive, great speech, couldn't have been better.
Well, was there a memorable moment in the speech for you?
I think the memorable moment in the speech for me and most people was the whole theme of Donald Trump. He's going to make America great again. And he said, and why is it that anybody could feel bad about wanting America to be better than it is, wanting our lives to be better, wanting things to be better? It's a positive message. It resonated with the voters across the United States. Of course, we all stood behind John Kasich, our beloved governor, who won the state of Ohio, but the voters have spoken. We're with Donald Trump.
Donald Trump did mention Ohio in his speech, particularly about coal. How will his message, as you see it, play in this state? Can he win Ohio with this sort of a campaign?
Well, as the saying goes, as Ohio goes, so goes the nation. You have to win Ohio to win the presidency. this presidency is going to be won by these key states. Ohio's one of those states. The Quinnipiac poll last week had Hillary Clinton at 41% and Donald Trump at 41%, dead tied. This plays in Ohio. We're going to get a bump from this convention, and we're going to win the White House, take back the White House, and beat Hillary Clinton.
That, of course, a Republicans' prognostication. John Stainbrook, thank you very much for your time. Next week, it's the Democrats' turn. They go to Philadelphia. Probably later on Friday, we're going to learn who Hillary Clinton's running mate will be. All of this happens again next week on the Democratic side. Reporting live from the floor of the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, Bill Hormann, 13 ABC Action News.